Yeah, but man, what's up, bro?
Man, I'm cooling. Just glad to be alive. Glad to be
Yeah,
alive.
for sure,
How
man.
you doing,
Definitely good.
man? Welcome back.
I'm
Welcome back home, man. Welcome back home.
right, right, man. I'm good, bro. Just been enjoying these past couple weeks here. Getting ready for the birthday. Turning 29 in 2 days.
My man. My man.
Yeah, so it's definitely already had in mind to bring you on the show, but I think at this moment right now, just mentally where I'm at, just looking at my life, man, over the last I would say 11 years when you quote unquote become an adult, turning 18, and just think about when we met in '08 and looking at 2021 now, it's just like an amazing thing. And I say that to say is, I titled this most valuable player just based around, the lessons that you taught me, the lessons that you've taught people around me, leading by example. And not to toot my own horn, I believe that I have won MVP a few years, but I know I got a couple more to win. And I think part of my success is that I want people to know that you can't really win this game without having a successful coach. And you've been my coach since 2008. So I want to bring you on the show so we could just, drop some jewels and talk about some things that people can take away to help their
Man,
lives be better.
man, I appreciate it, man. First of all, it has been since 2008. Number one, that seems like like a blink. It seems like we blinked twice, and here we are.
Yeah,
It's 2021, man.
for real, man.
So let's give it some perspective. In 2008, I think that was the first time Facebook went. I think it went beyond. I think they stopped.
College.
Yeah, it went beyond college. In
Yeah.
2008, if I'm not mistaken, was 2008. No, I think the iPhone, maybe the iPhone 2 might have been out.
Right.
I'm just
I know too. 2008. I remember I had this Sprint Samsung like kind of like flip. It wasn't a flip phone, but it was like one of those standing tall phones. So I didn't even have an iPhone yet.
yeah, it's so crazy. But no, man, hey, listen, all I know is this, you know, I tell people all the time, I've mentored and coached a lot of people over the years, you know, from far away, up close and personal. But I'm gonna tell you one thing about it, and I think that everybody has some sort of sixth sense, and it varies. And I tell people, I believe my sixth sense is knowing when people just need a little nudge. And I remember the first time I met you at MNYU,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, yo, this cat is right there. I mean, you were right there on the fence. And I'm like, yo, he could easily, and you reminded me a lot of myself. He's like, yo, you could easily easily go ahead and be about that life. Or you could easily just be like, you know what, let me make the decision not to be. And
Yeah.
by making that decision not to do what everybody else was doing, I never saw you as somebody who said, yo, this is what I'm doing. Once you made a decision, you made a decision right.
Yeah.
And there's a difference. Even, Josh Hatch, who I know, um, he's in an elite group of guys. He has a thing, and ever since I heard it, it made more sense. He says, make a decision and then make it right. Right. So it doesn't say make the right decision. It just says make a decision first. And whatever that decision is, then improve that decision you already made. And so when you made that decision to be like, nah, I ain't gonna be about this life, you did
Mm-hmm.
it right. It was no gray area with you. He's like, nah, I'm gonna go ahead and do this thing. I got way too much brain power. I got way too much influence for who I am. And man, trust me, man, it's been an honor and a pleasure to just watch you evolve and flourish. Quick story, when you graduated from DSU,
Yeah.
I had gone to my own college reunion in Atlanta, but and my daughter had prom, I think that same night. It was her junior year. And I said,
Okay.
well, look, I'm gonna fly back early from our college reunion because not only is my daughter going to prom, that Sunday y'all graduate. I said, no, no, no. I don't if it would have to be canceled. I said, I gotta see this dude walk across the graduation stage, man. So literally, man, I felt like when you graduated, I felt like I graduated too.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, you was the first person like us here. Like I still got the pictures, man. You was at the line.
Yep.
You was there before the whole family, man.
you know, because again, I literally saw you. You was like, yo, man. Like, I mean, like it was just like I said, that's my sixth sense. I can sense when people, when there's something more, when there's something more in somebody. And I'm not saying that every time I said something to somebody, they took their own advice, not my advice, and made the decision. I just know, like, yo, something else is wrong. And like even when I'm talking to people on the phone, I'm talking to clients, if I'm talking to my sister, talking to anybody in my family, if something is not right, if their energy is off, I know. And I tell people a lot, I've made a living by speaking and communicating, but my superpower is listening.
Yeah.
And most people don't realize that. I was like, no, my superpower is listening. And that sixth sense has helped me, in my humble opinion, have success over the years, but really enjoy and be fulfilled by what I do.
Yeah, yeah, nah, for sure, man. And, you know, when you just mentioned '08, I think about it, we actually met in '07
Okay.
because now I remember, I mean, it was the '07, '08 school year, but now I remember, you know, because you always in room, I think it was called room 150, man. I always tell people the story. Like, I was walking past the room to go up the steps. I'm about to go to the gym, go chill. And like, I had to double take. I'm like, man, I look like John Legend in there. Like, that's the first thing came across my mind when I say it. And anybody that know me, they know I'm a huge John Legend fan. So I'm like, hold up. I'm like, John Legend up at MM? So I stepped back and then, you know, as soon as I came and started talking, like kind of what you said, you saw something in me. Like I looked at you and I'm like, man, like, you know, this dude cool, suited and booted. You know, y'all was in there just talking about getting students down to Upward Bound and recruiting and everything. And like from there, I was locked in. And you know, the story I always say is that once I joined Upward Bound, you had got promoted to the other side of campus.
Mhm.
And I remember coming to like the programs and tutoring. They're like, oh, they're like, you know, Coach George Rice is over in another department now. So I remember talking to Bria, you know, Bria Powell, shout out to Bria. I'm like, man, I ain't doing this program no more. Like I only came in because, you know, George Rice is in the program. But, you know, I ended up sticking with the program. Shout out to Thomas and Ivy. And man, y'all really, you know, I would say saved my life and really prepared me for college because, man, going through those upper bound programs, having those talks with you and everything, when I got to DSU, bro, it felt so natural. Like, and I already stayed in the dorms for 6 weeks at GW. I done went to the CAF and, you know, managed a little bit of money in the summertime. We went on every college tour, different speakers, Kennedy Center. So it was like, man, when I got to school, I felt prepared. Like I didn't really feel scared or anything. It was like, oh, I kind of know how this goes a little bit.
Yeah, it was the exposure. Like, people say to me, it was the exposure for me, right?
Yeah,
Because and again, like you said, shout out to the Upper Bound program at GW. Shout out to Ivy, Thomas, Deanna, that whole crew,
facts.
because Ivy was the one that hired me. And it was crazy because again, exposure is everything. Because you saw yo, it's all right. I can still be from Northeast and still, do all the stuff. I have access. I have
Mm-hmm.
access. Here, Ed, you probably here's the funny part. Here was the one part. This is a one story. I remember, man, I was so pissed at you because you was on your way to Alabama State. You remember this?
Yeah, yeah.
You was on your way to Alabama State. You actually said, "All right, dog, I'm going to Alabama State." I said, "Okay, cool, cool, cool. All right, cool, cool." You go ahead and you made the move. You went down, and it was like a 6 week program, like academic, whatever. But
Day
you
after
did that.
graduation.
Yeah, it was a day after graduation. So, like, I was like, okay, and then you hit me up like maybe a week or so. I don't know how many days you were down there. He's like, "Yeah, man, I'm back in DC." I'm like,
Yeah.
"What? Like, what happened?" Nah, dog, I don't think I'm gonna go to college. What? Whoa, huh?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, remember I was telling, yeah, I was telling, man. I remember
Bruh.
I said your office. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm about to get a job at Safeway, bro. I'm about to stack my money up
Right.
and move
But
to LA.
well, yeah, you was talking about doing this acting thing. I was like, okay, that's fine. But wait a minute, dog. Like, hold up. And you it's like, I said, you know what, man? We can't. I said, bruh, come to the office.
Yeah, right.
Come to the office. I can't believe this. I remember, I told Reese, I was like, yo, my man Ed, I was like, yo, he done went down there, folks, done spent money. I said, yeah, I was pissed.
Yeah.
And I remember I said, you know what, Ed, all right, fine. You made an executive decision. I said, okay, you back here. And I said, here's I remember I told you, I said, Ed, all right. So this decision you're gonna make. You feel like you're not ready to go to school. Okay, fine. I was like, what's the plan? And I was like, Ed, you and your crew said that y'all was gonna go to college. I said, I'm gonna tell you something,
Hmm.
man. You're gonna feel some type of way when you sitting on the steps and you watching them leave for school.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember I told
Fact.
you that. And so we went a while without speaking. And then next thing I knew, you said, no, man, I'm going to Dell State. I'm like, boom, let's go.
Yeah, man. And that was a moment for me where, like I always say, you know, like even when I sat in your office, it wasn't no preaching. It wasn't no, this and the third. It was just pretty much like you were showing me like, all right, if this is going to be your decision, what else is going to come from it? And it was like at that moment I realized like, yeah, like this staying home, getting the job may not be the best idea. But
Yeah.
also too, what you just said about exposure, you know how your office was, man. You had different students, different staff members, student leaders on campus coming in and out of office. So even when I was in there in the office, I was able to see some of the benefits of what college was doing for some of those sophomores, juniors, seniors, or whatever. So even those visits to the office kind of woke me up like, nah, you might need to go up the road, man, and see what's up with this school stuff.
Right. And for you, what I saw in you, I was like, it's just exposure. I was like, Ed has support, and you had to you got the gift of gab. I mean, that was evident. That was evident from the time you transfer. And if for folks that don't know, let me tell my version of the Ed Doxson story real quick. So Ed Doxson transferred from Washington to McKinley, right?
Yeah.
Didn't you become the student council president or your senior class president?
Yeah, student government president. I ran my junior year, so my first year there, I never running for student
Your
body president.
You
My
ran your
last
first year there and you won, right?
year.
And
Yeah.
then senior year you did something else, right?
Nah, I was SJ president for that year. I mean, but we had a tough year with the protests, the firing of
That's
the
right.
teachers, meeting
That's
with the
what that was.
chancellor, Fenty. We had a
Yeah,
quite a year.
right. But at the same time, you were at the forefront of all of that.
Yeah.
I do, even though you from Northeast, you were at Washington. shut down. You go to a whole new school.
And a whole new culture too. Like that was
Oh,
the thing with tech. Yeah, it was
exactly.
where was, about 300 kids, and you
Yep.
might have had like 10, 15 people trying to, do right and go to the next level. But when I
Yep.
got to tech, everybody was kind of on that, and it doesn't take nothing away from the teachers at because I had some great teachers and support system at but at tech, the curriculum was different.
Mm-hmm.
The teachers were different. Just everything was different. So I was finally in a space where it was like, oh, going to class, getting the 4.0s, extracurricular activities, like it was the cool thing to do. Like you kind of was looked at as a lame if you wasn't doing that at tech. Whereas
Yep.
at it was everybody who was trapping, getting money and doing those things. They was the cool people in school. But one thing I could say, man, I think I could just get it from my family. I've always had a gift of being able to relate to everyone and at the same time still being myself. But
Yep.
as you said earlier, as a teen, like you ain't got that much discipline. You could easily just take that wrong turn and your life be over.
Bruh, that was your crossover moment. Not only you had several crossover moments when we met at and he was like, "Hey, what's up?" Then I saw you. Probably remember. I saw you at the train station. I saw you at
Yeah,
Metro Center
I
one day,
remember that. Yep,
and then
GW.
you transferred to tech, right? Boom, you become SGA president. Boom, you're at the forefront of all that teacher stuff. And shout out to tech for their teachers and their counselors.
Yes,
They were
sir.
always on it. Like they literally like raised the bar. And so
Yeah,
you go from there. Then you go to DSU, become SGA president again at DSU.
yeah.
You literally, man, made history. When I was at DSU last year, I spoke at DSU last year for a conference. It wasn't
hmm
associated with DSU. It was a excuse me, it was a national conference that took place at DSU. And
Okay.
I walk up to the student center, man, and I promise you, man, whose face do I see on the student center? Even before you graduate, whose face do I see on the student center? None of Ed Doxson the third. And
Yeah,
I was like, man, you got to write a book, bro. I promise you. Down the line, you ain't got to do it right away, but eventually, man, people just need to know that crossover moment. Everybody talk about when Iverson crossed Jordan like that. I mean,
right.
everybody knew Iverson could go, but it was like, yo, you just crossed the goat, and then you hit the jump shot. To me, that you making that decision and making it right to say, yo, I am literally going to give this a straight up shot. And I'm putting all my marbles in this particular bucket. And I ain't looking back. I ain't letting nobody get me off my post. Man, it's paid dividends because at one point in my phone, your name was Mayor Doxson.
Yeah.
It went from Ed to Ed Doxson to ED3. Then it went to Mayor Doxson. Now in my phone is Dreams by Any Means.
Yes, sir. Nah, man, for real, man. I appreciate it, bro. And it was, like, when I'm thinking about those moments, like, because another thing that was messing with me was like, man, '08 was just crazy, yeah, bro. Like, that was when Ryan died.
Yeah.
That's when my boy Dante, he ended up getting arrested as a teen for something he didn't do. And by the grace of God, he ended up getting off for that because he was facing some major time. And everybody was getting locked up in trouble. Neighborhood beef was getting 10 times worse. So
Yeah.
for me, it was like when I went away to school too, you kind of had that survivor's remorse where it's like, man, I'm the only one from around here going to school. Like probably one other person that went away to school, football scholarship, but I was really the only one kind of going to school. So I dealt with that too in
Mm-hmm.
college. I remember just being up there, everybody had the dream of like, you want your day ones to be with you and successful and go all the way. But you learn as you get older, like that ain't gonna happen, all the time. Most of the time that ain't gonna happen. So I was dealing with that while I was in school. But at the same time, it was my motivation because like I had a purpose wall like in my room in college, I remember. And it was like the article of my friend Antonio getting sentenced to 91 years. It was a picture of Ryan. It was an article of my friend Nutty being killed in Berry Farms. Like, so those type of things, I would wake up in the morning
Yeah.
and it's like, man, you got to keep it going because like that could be your name up there on that wall easily.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely like I tell people all the time, like, man, definitely McKinley, man. Shout out to David Pender, Principal Pender, like, man, because he gave me a shot. But when I left from MM, I was like a two, I think I was like a 2.3, 2.4. Tech wasn't no walking a
Nah.
park school. You
It's
had
a
to have your stuff together.
it's a blue ribbon school, ain't it?
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
when I went in the office, I remember I got my transcript from MM, and I remember the registrar like, yeah, go up there, man, see what they talking about. I'm like, man, they ain't gonna let me McKinley. Like, I ain't about to waste my time. I applied to try to get into school, but I was. I
Right.
didn't pass state test, so I get up to McKinley. Pender's out running on the field. He's coming from his running the track. He's coming in. They like, I talked to the security guy. She's like, yeah, wait for him to get in. So he come in. I'm talking to him. I never forget, man. I tell him the story. He came in, man, had on these shorts, shirt, glass. He looking like Kevin Federline. So, so he like, man, come to my office. So I come to the office. I show him my transcript, show him my personal statement, and he like, like, all right. So I'm telling him, I'm like, when do I, he like pretty much he's like, all right, cool, let's go. So I'm like, when do I take my test? He's like, no, you're in. I'm like, when do I take the reading test? He was like, no, you're in. He was like, I'm gonna give you a shot. And he was like, you go it again. I never forget. He had this button on his desk. It was a James Brown button. You press it and it say, I feel good. So man, he gave me the opportunity in '08 where it's like, man, I was trying to figure out what was next. And I know if I'd have went to another school like an Eastern or a school where everybody from MM went to, man, I wouldn't have really had the opportunity to grow at McKinley. McKinley had this saying of no excuses, just solutions. And man, like my English teacher there, Dr. Anna Kinsman, when I think about people like Sergeant Wilson, like, man, Lisa Devlin, my DC cap advisor, like, bro, those people really like had my back and my classmates back. And it was like, man, when I got at McKinley, bro, I just felt like I could do anything. Like from that, when you mentioned student government, shout out to my boy Ed Hall. Like I was the new boy and I was running against somebody who was real popular. So at the same time, they thinking like, oh man, you're wasting your time. Originally, I supposed to run for vice president, but no lie, it was one night I woke up and I had a dream that I ran for president. And I was like, man, what I'm selling myself short for number two? Like, let me go for number one. And my boy Ed Hall, man, we was in there late at night. Bro, I'm talking about we in the cafeteria 9, 10 o'clock. We had the custodians kick us out. We hanging up posters everywhere in the bathroom stalls, in the lunchroom, offices, counselor suite. Like, we just going in. And man, we end up coming out with the win. But like for me, and a gift that I'm also still trying to work on was that, a lot of people told me like, you campaign hard, but they said, man, when you had to speak, they was like, that's when I realized like, they was like, hey, I was going to vote for such and such, but they was like, nah, I'm going to vote for him. And people was telling me, they was like, yo, when you in your zone, it was like, it's just a natural thing. And like, man, when I got up there, I had like 3-4 pages for a speech, man. And I just put it all out there and told them my story. And honestly, even if I didn't win, I wasn't going to trip. Cause for me, it was like, man, I'm going against the grain and I'm doing some things that my friends, didn't have the opportunity to do or wish they could do. And man, getting in that leadership position and from being exposed to going downtown, like I said, with the protests, the teachers, having all that responsibility on you, man, it just taught me so much stuff that I still carry with me today, like working in the professional world.
Yeah, man. And it's funny because your birthday is February 21st. My brother, my best friend since we were in middle school, his birthday is
Okay.
February 21st. And y'all are so
Yeah.
much
That
alike
Pisces.
because y'all have, well, I'm saying you're a Pisces, you have influence. And I think sometimes I tell him all the time, and I remember my mother-in-law said a long time ago, she said, out of your crew, she says, you know who got the gift of gab? She says, Sean does. I said, no, you're absolutely right. And my thing is everybody has a superpower. And like I said, mine is I have a sixth sense,
Mm-hmm.
right? well, my first superpower is listening, but then that hidden, like, instinctive sixth sense is that, yo, it's like, nah, man, this dude got influence, and everywhere you've gone, Ed, like, from tech to DSU, because all you did was you picked up, you just, well, you didn't pick up, you attracted everybody else. Look at your whole crew, like Johnny, um, Damo, you know, Kimani, y'all's whole crew. I mean, look at the crew, look at the family that, look, y'all started, y'all literally, I don't even say y'all shifted the culture. Y'all like remixed, regrouped, metamorphosized, if that's even a word, the culture of student government. Because
Yeah,
after y'all did that video, remember I sent that video to you and Kimani about a month or two ago. I said, yo, this right
yeah,
here was next level. Wasn't nobody doing this, but like, to know what you guys came up with in that concept. And it wasn't just a thing where the video was dope. It's like, no, man, they actually on the ground doing this thing. And y'all literally, I was like, yo, I tell people, as a coach, I've said I've won over the years and so on and so forth. I said, but what really butters my biscuit, what really gets me hype is to watch y'all really recognize your superpower and walk in your gift, man. And like I said,
yeah,
everything that you've tried has bear fruit. Name
yeah,
name one thing you haven't tried since we've known each other that hasn't bear fruit. And if it hasn't bear fruit yet, it's on the way.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
So you got the masters, right? Boom. Okay. Boom. Had it not been for, quarantine, man, you might have been you were about to be international, Ed.
yeah. I know, man.
You
That
listen, let me see. Okay, let me
in
let me let
Mexico
me
for
brag.
3 weeks, best 3 weeks of
Let,
my life.
let me let me brag on Ed Doxson real quick. I ain't had nothing to do with it, but let me just tell y'all. When Ed finished his masters, he had the choice of four different cities, two here in the continental US, two international. After getting his masters, here's a dude from Northeast who was literally a decision away from not being a high school graduate, or a college graduate, a person who has a master's degree, a mentor, a big brother, to having four different options of where he could go and two of those options were out of the country. I was like,
Yeah,
wait a minute. Remember when you called me? You said, "Yo, man, I got, I got four
yeah.
choices."
I'm like, man, they talking Budapest, they talking everywhere.
I'm like, worldwide, And I remember y'all used to say DC or nothing.
Yes,
I used
sir.
to hear a lot of people say DC or nothing. I'm like, man, listen, y'all, the way that y'all are moving in your gift, everybody's really, yo, man, I need to go get some of that DC water, because
Yeah,
these cats right here go super hard.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like, well, even it's funny, man. Shout out to Tony Lewis. Tony coined that, and I remember first thinking, DC and nothing meant, just like, man, DC, like everything here. But it really became from, like, started as a movement to unify like local artists. Then it went into community thing. But then it became a mindset where it's like you just said, man, like DC or nothing, meaning that you've been here long enough for man, DC ain't no walk in the park. So that same mentality that you have of, like, you really got to have a strong mentality to avoid all the distractions here. And you still take some of those mentalities of, like, just in the professional world, reaching your goals, everything. Like, like I always tell people, like, we be texting me like, "What's up, Slim?" Like, even those type things where it's like, man, I can't, I can't be a Bama. You know what I mean? I can't
Right,
go like that in certain situations. And,
right.
like I said, with that purpose wall, what you could have easily been in this town. Like, man, this town ain't no joke. Like,
Yeah,
it's
man.
so easy to get caught up because it's so small. Like, I tell people all the time, like, you can send your kid to a school across town, but, like, people may not notice listening. Like, there's no neighborhood school really here in DC. Like,
Nope.
the town is so small. There's no, I tell you, even with school buses, us not having school buses change the type of culture of commuting to school. You commuting to school, you going through some of the roughest neighborhoods.
Yep.
You may got to deal with some stuff on a ride buses. You run into people from rival neighborhoods. Man, there was times where, like, with me, like, I ain't never been no active super guy, nothing like that in the streets. But it's like times I'm going to school, people I grew up with, they done went through neighborhoods the night before, and people looking at me and want to take it out on me the next day. So it's like
Yep.
those type of things. It's like, man, you really just you can't even make it up. So when you get out of there to get exposed to something new. That's when I got to school, man, and people were still fighting and beefing. I'm like, man, y'all tripping. Like, why y'all like doing this? Like I never give somebody, when we was running for SGA, somebody had like an issue with us, and they was really trying to like beef and get upset and all this. And I had to tell them, I'm like, look, bro, I'm like, man, where I grew up at, I'm like, bro, the smallest type of disagreements or beefs like lead to somebody getting killed, bro. And it's like, for that, I don't entertain that. Like, cause I know, like where that can easily go. And it's like, I'm grateful that I don't have to be in those spaces. I'm grateful that my temper isn't at a level where as soon as something happens, I go 0 to 100 and I want to fight or I want to pick up a gun. So it's like, man, I was at DSU like, man, y'all tripping. Like, this is heaven right here for a young
Right.
black man.
Right. And it's funny, it's something about the thirds. You Ed Doxson the third, I'm George Rice the third. It must, and
Yes,
I feel
sir.
like it's something about them thirds because for real, while we knew like from our respective hometowns, like we know cats on both sides. Like cats is really about something, and cats that was really about to be like, nah, we about to thug it out from from the womb to the tomb type of thing.
Yeah.
And to still be in a place where you can come back home and thank by the grace and by the grace and mercy that nobody is really trying to stop you from flourishing. And it's nothing but a blessing to be like, you know what, I didn't just survive in college, I thrived. I got my bachelor's, I got this master's, and again, think of your network, man, of the people, and even the stuff, and again, the stuff that you and Kenny and y'all are doing in Ward 7 and 8, man, just with every year with the toy drive, y'all are doing Thanksgiving. I mean, it seems like you like the Energizer Bunny. You've never stopped serving. And to me, you know, I always say, you know, you're already a mentor. You're a mentor and a coach, and you don't even realize it. I ask people on my podcast, I ask every coach, I say, who's the person that's coaching you that doesn't know that they're coaching you? Right.
Yeah.
And somebody is watching Ed Doxson the third. Somebody's like, yo, that cat, good looking dude, he got swag. Yo, he from around the way, but guess what? He ain't no different from me. He ain't, he ain't no Bama, he ain't no nerd. Yo, like he doing his
Yeah.
thing. Like, yo, I could legit do this if I have the right team around me. Right. And by committee, that becomes
Right.
that becomes
Exactly.
that force, right? That becomes that what do they call them? The event. Y'all become y'all's own version of the Avengers. And everywhere you've gone, your team has been like the Avengers. Everybody brings a different superpower to the table. And folks, and it's not like y'all were never the type that, carried it like, yo, this is what we doing. Like, he was like, no, we're gonna be here doing this work. If y'all want to get down, come on. You ain't gotta ask. And it's similar, right? It's similar to what some of the cats are doing in the street, but it's just on the other side of it. Like, yo, we're not gonna get arrested for serving people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're not gonna kill nobody doing, we're not gonna kill nobody serving people. You know what I'm saying? So I just look at, you being the MVP every year because of that decision, every decision that you made, and you made it right. And I can't imagine what's ahead. Like, look at all the options you have now. even
Yeah,
during
bro.
quarantine. Look at the options you have now, even during quarantine.
No, for real, bro. And it's like it's funny you say that because I was just looking through some pictures the other night and just thinking, like, man, I really was thinking like all the stuff I wanted to do before 30. I'm like, all right, I'm about to be 29. I really done did it. Like, even with the situation we talked about Mexico, like it didn't work out, of me being over there due to the visa issues, but I still went. Like, man, I remember riding an Uber, bro. Like, no, like, I get to Mexico, I'm riding an Uber, bro. For one, let's put this out there. I do not speak Spanish, so I'm on all translator.
Right.
The car that they sent to the hotel come pick me up, it wasn't the same car that they sent me in the email. So I'm in my mind, like, I watch too much Queen of the South. I'm like, bro, I hope
Right.
these people don't
Like,
kidnap me. I'm like, bro, what's going on, man? We ride through, it's dark outside. I'm like, oh, come on, Jesus, don't let this happen to me. So, man, I get to the hotel, though. When I get to the hotel, I'm in Mexico City. So I'm like I'm to the mall, which is like Tinley Town area. So with that being said, you got a few people that speak English. It's the best hospitality ever. Nice hotel, all that, man. So I get into my hotel. I never forget getting a shower, bro. And I'm like, it hit me. I'm like, yo, like, you in Mexico. And it was like it didn't feel too crazy though. But then it hit me where it was like, all right, I've been moving so much, I've been taking so much risk, I've been removing the fear. It's like it almost felt natural. And at that moment, like bro, when I was getting in those Uber, I was taking Uber everywhere, it was so cheap. And I was playing like this Nipsey song, man, and it's on that Mailbox Money album, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, man, man, rest in peace to Nip, man. Like Nip got so many songs that like if you're a hustler, you're a grinder, like you just automatically relate to what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
But it's called real nigga moves. It's him and
Oh yeah.
Dom Kennedy. Dom Kennedy. And on that song, he just talking about like, man, like just getting to it and excited, bro. Like I'm there, like, yo, I'm mad. Like, and I just say that to say, bro, I'm about to kind of 2 days. Like I really was looking at my list. I've done all the stuff that I said I was going to do. Like, and I think for me now, it's like, I tell people this right here is a foundational year for me where I'm getting ready for a new decade of 30. These next 10 years, like I'm trying to just go so hard. They say a man don't reach his full potential until he's 40. So, like I'm really just in a space where like, man, I'm happy. And like some you said earlier, it's a team. And the quote you told me before, like choosing personnel ain't personal. You know what I mean? And it's so important because there's some people where like I still got love for, but we may not be as close as we are because like, you know what, our energy don't align no more, or we on 2 different pages, and I'm still cool with you, but I need people around me that's gonna get me to the next level. That's like with starting a business, starting a skincare line I'm developing, starting a podcast. I was telling my people like it was Damo, it was Kamani, it was Kenny, it was the people around me and people in my circle that motivated me to get more into ownership compared to like, yeah, you could look up the Gary V's, you could look up the people who got the podcast and celebrities, but man, when your own circle can inspire you to be better, it's like, you're going to always be good. Cause like I tell you, we have unintentional competition. Like we ain't, trying to see do better, but it's like, I tell people all the time, like, bro, my circle, bro, like the people I just named, bro, my boy Zay, shout out to Zay. Zay just got a job with the Celtics. You know what I mean? I went to a bucket list before 30. I got to go to the finals, bro. I'm backstage with Aisha Curry, Steph Curry, the KD, the kids, like, you know what I mean? I went to see him in Indy. We in a club, Victor Oladipo. Like, these are the type things where it's like, this just happened to be my bro that I met at Dale State. And through that, man, it's like so much stuff has been able to happen. Like, and I say that to say, man, just like having people like that in my circle, shout out to Clint Saunders, he one of the managers of Meek Mill, managing a lot of the artists, booking shows. Like, I look at these people around me like, man, I can't be no slouch. I can't come to the table like, oh yeah, I'm doing this, nah, like that be elite level. And that's what I'm on right now, where it's like, man, people think, oh, you've been doing this, you've been doing that. It's like, man, I just scratched the surface. Like, I ain't even really hit what I really supposed to be doing. And one thing that you said, which I think I sometimes didn't really realize it as much, is just naturally influence is something that's so heavy that, man, it's almost like whatever you kind of touch, you can make it be great. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like when I look at the business, I look at the podcast, all this different type of stuff, is like, man, the influence is so different. And I get that, for example, being in Pompano, my boy Joe, like, and I can't make it up. I meet Joe at the corner store. Joe, like, probably 3-4 years younger than me, right? Joe, cool guy in the real estate. He's from Pompano. Joe is close friends with Lamar Jackson, bro. Pull up to Joe's house one night. Lamar's outside cooling.
Right. I'm
telling Joe, the program about to end. We about to get ready to make this move from Pompano to the next location. Man, like, all right, man, like, come here for you. Man, Joe gives me Lamar's Louisville jersey that I got right here in front of me right now, signed and everything. He actually got it signed at the baby shower. I wasn't able to make it, but signed and everything. And he tell they call me DC down there. And he tell me, he like, DC, man, thank you for everything you've done for me, bro, blah, blah, blah. And mind you, like, when he said that, it hit me because it's like, I haven't done nothing for Joe, like, as far as like, like giving him money or put him on the job. Truth be told, Joe's done more for me because he was like my tour guide in Pompano, telling me where to go, where not to go, connecting me with hookups. His dad works on cars. My car got hit. Dad fixed my car for way cheaper than I would have went. But every time we pulled up, we had conversation. And, we follow each other on social media. And then it hit me where I'm like, oh, nah, like he's influenced by like some of the things that I've been able to expose him that he hasn't, been exposed to. So, man, I just say that to say is like, with influence, whether it's in corporate America, nonprofit, my business, I'm really like focused on this year, man, taking this influence and using it to the best of my And most importantly, like end of the day, people say everything ain't about money, but as we know, you got to bring that to that. So I'm learning how I can use this influence, man, to really, really help shape my future and my kids and my grandkids.
Well, man, let me charismatically and respectfully disagree with you. You say you didn't do nothing for Young Bull, right? You say you didn't do nothing when in essence you did do
Yeah,
something. You showed up authentically as yourself, right? You know, Kevin Gates says it's cheaper to be yourself. It's
right.
always cheaper to be yourself. And what you did, what you didn't even realize that you do, is when you show up authentically
Yeah,
in your superpower, you're going to attract the people that you need to have on your team. It's like if we go and hoop right now, right? You like you say, yo, I got next. You can pick who you want, right? Yo,
right.
I got next. So everywhere you've gone, you got next. Everywhere you go, you got next. It's like, okay, it's a new cat, you know. And the main thing is like, well, yo, he seemed cool. He definitely want to play. Let me run with him and see what we can do, right? Not let me run with him to see how many shots that I can make. Let's see how many shots we can make. So to me, it's the ultimate pickup game. Like you were saying, you know, some folks fall off or whatever. My thing is always, you know, not to always put it in the sports realm, but it makes sense. It's like, yo, we all trying to play the game, but not everybody deserves to be in the league. Some folks got to go overseas. Some folks got to go to
Yeah,
the G League. Some folks got to get cut and waived, or
not for real.
I mean, not from your team, but from the league, right?
Yeah,
Not necessarily from your team, because you know, as you see all this camaraderie in the league, and that's a whole nother story. There's all this camaraderie in the league where people want to click up to try to win rings or whatever. Sometimes that's not always a solution. Sometimes what you have to do is be authentically yourself with your own team, and you have to ride that season out with that team just to see how you're going to grow. And maybe you don't have a winning season by other people's opinions, but the metrics will show you. You know, they say numbers don't lie. The metrics are what the metrics are. But because you're on
yeah,
the team, the metrics matter. And when the
yeah.
metrics
Nah.
matter,
Oh,
like I said, every squad that you've picked up it's a quote. They said in the company, in a multitude of wise counsel there is safety. In the multitude of wise counsel there is safety. So think of
mm-hmm.
everybody that's been on your team, right? And we're not even talking about safety from the streets, but there's safety there is safety from the streets, right? But there's
Yeah,
also safety from imposter syndrome. There's safety from you feel, it's safety from you saying, yo, man, I'm scared about this, but yo, I want to try this, bro. Oh, bro, I'm about to do this, right? And so I was doing a live with Johnny about a couple of months ago, and I
mm-hmm.
told him, you said something about your bucket list before 30. It's two things. My father-in-law told me a long time ago. He says, man, you ain't grown till you 30. And before I turned 30, I was looking at
Yeah,
him,
yeah. I heard that too.
right? And it
Yeah,
makes sense. And so when you think about it, I always tell people the first 30 is for training. The second 30 is for gaining. The next 30, there's no need
mm-hmm.
for explaining. So you take
Yeah.
that.
Facts.
If you're able to see 90, both of my grandfathers were able to see 90 plus. So I'm hoping I can see 90 plus, right? So
Blessed.
by the time I'm 60 plus, I don't have to explain what I've done. Other people, it's like in 300 the movie. Remember when he sent old boy? Remember when he sent old boy back? He says, no, go and tell. He says, look, I don't want you to go into battle with us. Go and tell my story.
Yeah.
Right. And as that dude told a story, he grabbed his 300 and then they went into battle. So when I always say, okay, who's coaching you that doesn't know that they're coaching you? People are watching Ed Doxson the third, whether they grew up in Northeast, Southeast, Northwest, Southwest, it don't matter. They're watching Ed Doxson and be like, yeah. So by the time you have crossed everything else off of your bucket list and somebody else, boom, they're gonna tell your story. And again, nobody tells it like you do.
Yeah.
But down the
Right.
line, they're going to tell your story because they benefited from your example.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's not for sure, bro. And I appreciate that. And I agree, man. It's like, I just tell you, man, everything for me too, man. Like a lot of people, should know if they follow me. Like I grew up in a faith-based home, with my grandparents and my grandfather being a deacon for 40 years, my grandmother and them. So like we went to Sunday school every morning. We know the blessings of God. We done had our challenges. And I say that to say is that even with having this ability to connect, man, it's a God-given thing. where, like, man, I tell people all the time, bro, like, people just be talking to me, bro. And I'm saying that to say I always have conversations with strangers, but it's like if they start talking, I'm gonna talk back. And then it's like I just noticed, like, man, the power of just being able to hold the conversation. And just to spin back to, connecting with young boy, Joe, man, people that may not know, like, Pompano ain't, South Beach Strip. Like, Pompano is Pompano. Like, it's like, I moved from Baltimore, to New York, to Mexico, then to Pompano. But I'm saying Pompano is pretty much like it's a rough little town. That's what Kodak and all them from. So I'm saying that to say, when I meet Joe or go to Joe's house, Joe is a great guy, but Joe grew up in Pompano. He's from Pompano. He's with them people. So I say that to say, it's like, man, my mother would always say that. She's like, everywhere you go, you always move in the hood. And it was like, I didn't even intentionally move in the hood. Like, so my apartment, like, you can see the view is amazing, but it's right outside of what Pompano. But I always say, I'm like, man, I'd rather be around my know that I'm gonna be able to connect with them. Even when I was there, I was looking at community stuff, but COVID happened and that kind of ruined everything. But I remember walking up to the rec center, man, talking to one of the directors and saying, like, man, how can I make my impact? And honestly, the mayor actually emailed me back probably like a month ago. And I still got that email, and some of the council members replied too. So that's still something in the works, and I just say that to say, well, like, I always keep that community mind. And I'm sorry if I'm steering off topic a little bit, but
no, you good.
From the Vegas to the, what Delaware to Vegas to Baltimore to Pompano, like, man, being in all these different cities, the lesson that it taught me is more so the two is that, man, the Black struggle is really the same everywhere. Like, we all kind of going through the same things.
Absolutely.
And that also keeps me grounded, where I think sometimes people can reach success, they can become removed from, what's happened, or, like they say, that elite black people, and thinking they this, or thinking like, oh, there's no struggle for the Black man because I'm good. I got my job and this Black people work with me. Like, hell nah. I was reminded every day I drove outside, the gates in Pompano. Every day I was on my way to Towson. I lived in East Baltimore. So, like, I was reminded, and, like, shout out to Baltimore, one of my favorite cities. But that experience there, bro, really showed me, like, true poverty. When I first went to West Baltimore, with my boy Barry, I never seen poverty, still to this day, never seen poverty like that in my life, bro. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
man.
talking about, it woke me up. I'm like, geez, like, be grateful what you got. And then on the other side, it's like, man, you got to play your role in bringing your people up in whatever capacity that is. And that's even like now me working in HR. I'm looking at so many ways I could take these HR skills of resume building, interview skills, code switching, and how I could teach young brothers in whatever community to get into these roles. Because, man, I see it every day. I get in there and they say, oh, we're diversity, we this. Man, it's probably me and one other Black dude. You know what I mean? So it's like, man, I just say that to say, like, I'm thankful for the influence and having the ability to connect with people, because, man, that's really what I know is my purpose. And that's what I've been focusing on more, is how do I take this purpose to the next level? I know my purpose is to influence people and help people get to the next level, but it's like, in what capacity? Is that going to be in politics? Is that going to be in corporate? Is that going to be community? Is that going to be podcasts? Like, and at the end of the day too, it could be all of them. So like,
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, don't limit it to one lane, because I think no matter, well, I know, I mean, it's proof. Now, here's one thing, real quick. I'm being serious, but I'm being silly too. So you got to at least live in Houston and Atlanta. So now you can say Houston, Atlanta, Vegas. Now you can
yes,
say Houston,
sir.
Atlanta, Vegas, Mexico City. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But
I gotta get down into the, hey, Keisha, if you listening, I gotta get down there to the A. You listening? I gotta get there. I never closed the A out, but I was like, I gotta go for the right opportunity.
yeah, just for a season. But what you said something, like you said, your superpower is you're an influencer, but you're also a servant. And I feel like HR
Yeah.
is such a for this season is such a great opportunity for you to have influence on both sides of the desk, right? Or for regardless of what candidates look like, but now you not only become the recruiter and the advocate, you also become the coach.
Mm-hmm.
And if again, because of the people that you've exposed yourself to, that you associate with, all it gives you that exposure, gives you perspective, and you don't realize when you're going to have to use somebody's story or something somebody gave you to be like, yo, look at it this way. In addition to your own particular understanding and wisdom that you're gaining just, by your experiences in life, you don't realize how much that's going to come into play as you begin to, just, wherever you go. So I'm saying, no, don't limit yourself in terms of what arena. That's the thing about you and my brother Sean, as Pisces, born on the same daggone day, man. Everywhere y'all go, it's like
Yeah.
you find your lane, and people not only do you know people, people know you, and they know what you do,
Yeah.
and they know what you have the power to do. And so my thing is, don't take that particular network lightly. Just make sure you keep the network fresh, not for you, but for somebody else. And so anytime I'm doing business with anybody, I'm literally, or even for people I'm not able to do business with, I'm like, listen, if there's anything I can do for you and yours, just let me know. Is it an email introduction? Do you need me to push your resume over? You know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
I get that honestly from watching, my parents always being in their particular lane, but always being willing to help our people. So, and to touch on what you said about always moving back to the hood. I mean, it's just one of those things where, again, you have always been somebody that was never on some old upper echelon stuff. You like nice stuff or whatever, whatever, but it's like, yo, I'm never going to deny the part of who I am. And that's what, that is what is so scary about when Pac and Nipsey exited this earth,
Yeah.
because Pac said it best. He says, "Listen, y'all." He says, "There is no did a couple albums, made a couple movies, comfortable black neighborhood." He says, "Because I've had this particular success, I've got to move away from my people." He says, "Why? Because they'll rob me." He says, "Why would they rob me? Because they're starving." And
Hmm.
when I look at their examples of what it really means to still be, because y'all, man, Nip was making millions, but he still lived in his house in the Crenshaw district.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
I think there has to be, you know, it's just unfortunate those particular brothers had to be martyrs, right? But
Yeah.
I think their life has more purpose now that they're gone, because it's like, wait, man, did y'all just see what they did? And who they were doing it for. They never separated themselves.
Yeah.
They never stopped the way they talked. They never, yeah, their circle may have changed slightly. And again, unfortunately, it had to be somebody that was in, that was right from the set that took Nip out. But the thing was, I really believe that Nip was his particular mission in his life was
He served his purpose, bro.
he served his
That.
purpose, and young
Yeah.
people could see like, yo, okay, there are certain things I can do, but never, ever, ever, ever leave somebody from my neighborhood. In other words, let me make sure I speak to everybody in the neighborhood. Now, if they know who I know and they don't take advantage of it, it ain't my fault. But I'm willing to help you, because I didn't help 5 or 10 or 15 or 25 of the homies that you know. And I didn't make them, I didn't get the opportunity for them. I gave them a starting point. Like, yo, what you need? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna introduce you. From there, you got to do what you need to do. You got to work your ministry. You know what I'm saying? And so, no, man, I think you're just the type of person and again, that's the one thing I saw in you. I said, nah, this dude is different. That sixth sense. I was like, nah, man, I don't know what he plans to do, but whatever he does, once he gets his mindset to it, once he makes that decision and makes it right, watch out. And that's why I say, if you end up being a mayor of DC one day, come on. If I ain't living in DC, no, I'm moving back to DC.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
I'm saying I'm in the area now, but I'm saying if I'm somewhere in Houston, LA, or wherever if I'm living internationally, like Ed, okay, how long is Ed mayor? Okay, I'm moving back. That's the kind
Yeah,
of
man, for
influence you
real.
have. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't blowing smoke. That's real rap. And that's just one of those things, man. And like I said,
Hmm.
I'm super excited about 29, 30, and beyond 30. I'm super excited about where your gift is going to take you, and what opportunities that are going to that you're going to attract and allow other people to be a part of, man. I couldn't be proud of you, man. I'm telling you, man, like that, like when I came to your graduation at DSU, man, I was like, wow, this is
Yeah.
amazing. By the way, real like off topic, hey man, did I ever give you that poster from when you were running for SGA at McKinley? Did I ever give that to you?
Nah. Well, there was one that you made.
No, it was the old one from when you were at McKinley. and you had shown it to me. You had
I
dropped.
think you sent me a picture. Yeah, I think you sent me a picture before.
Ah, okay. When I cleaned out my office at GW, I could have sworn I was like, "Yo, I'm gonna give this to Ed." It might be here. Let me look around the crib. I still got it. I think it might be out in the garage. But when I find it, I'm gonna definitely get that to you, man.
Yeah, yeah, man. Nah, for sure, bro. Like it's yeah, bro. And it's like like this for me, like this moment right here we having just refreshing because it's like, man, I'm just 2 days away. Like, geez, man. Like I remember when like I was 15, 16, like and thinking like, dang, am I gonna make it to 21? And I say that because it was just like, Ryan got killed at 15. People
Mhm.
around me was killed so young. So it's like you just thinking like, dang, is this one moment, going, is one moment going to end up, taking my life or, those type of things, man. So it's like, and I think for now, being an adult, looking back on that stuff, studying social work at DSU really helped me so much put things in a different perspective and still just seeing the unfortunate situations that Black men got to go through in this city on a national level from police brutality, whatever it may be. It's like, man, you sit back every day and you like, man, like I'm blessed. Like, you know what I mean? Like I gotta take advantage of this opportunity, what I have. And it's like when you said about your boy early and us being alike, man, I had these creative ideas and just stuff in my mind forever. But it's just the act of really doing it. Like sometimes people tell me, there'll be certain stuff, man, if it's from joking, if it's from just anything, people always say, man, you miss your calling. And I say that to say, because man, when I was at McKinley, McKinley's a mass comm school, and my focus, everyone was biotech, IT, but I was doing mass media. So the radio and the TV stuff, we would have to do that to get grades. But when I would do these projects like that, we like man, you natural with this, like you know what I mean. And like I said, shout out to my church upbringing because I was doing Sunday school, man, as a young boy, like every week having to go up front of the church, speak, recite Bible verses, give the two takeaways. And I was learning these lessons in one day compared to like everybody else had a week to study because I only came to my grandma's for the weekend. So just saying that to say is like, man, having the ability to do those things and now just reflecting, like I've been reflecting back on my life and like, he was doing this with mass comm and like you mentioned earlier, one day, man, I was trying to do the little acting thing. Like, man, I remember that phase. Like, even when I was in some of those classes, they was telling me, like, yeah, like you kind of natural with this. So now
Mhm.
it's like, man, I'm at the point of like, man, I think I didn't miss my calling at all. It was like I answered the other calls that were meant to be done at that time.
Come on.
Working with Mario in 2016, like it
Mhm.
was like I had experience. It was a good experience and it was experience. So I was like, oh, this might not be the thing I want to do. But in that moment, it was something I said, and Ryan got killed, and I got on the DC Advisory Council. I went away to Dale State, and I said, one day I want to work for the mayor. One
Mhm.
day I want to work overseas for national business. Like and the power of words is just so real, bro, because all of that stuff happened. Like all
Man,
of it happened, and sometimes it just happened with like, man, it just sometimes they say stuff fall in your lap. Like I definitely believe in hustle, but sometimes stuff do just fall in your lap.
look, man, listen. I really believe words create worlds.
Yeah,
They really do, man. And I believe, people, I never ask young people what they want to be when they grow up. I'm like, look, what are you willing to just fail at big? You know?
facts.
And my thing is when you realize that even if you're doing what you were meant to do, you will fail at something. Something will take a hit. But my thing is that as long as you don't stop, and that's the thing, Ed, you've never stopped. You've
Yeah, man.
never stopped. And that right there is the key. Anybody that we've seen in any field of endeavor, man, I want it. When I see people like Diddy, when I see people like Elon Musk, when I see people like, Warren Buffett, I'm like, yo, man, tell me about the times you just tanked, you hit rock bottom. I want to know those stories. I know what you have amassed, but yo, tell me at that time, like, yo, man, bump this. I ain't doing this shit. I'm about to just go get a job.
Yeah, for
I
real.
want to know those stories because I tell everybody, I don't think anybody is afraid of success. And I don't think anybody fears failure. I truly believe people fear maintenance. Because
Yeah,
think about it, Ed.
absolutely.
Everybody wants to have that certain physique. And every and anybody can have it. But you know what it takes. You can't stop.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
people like, yo, okay, yo, I'm gonna get my summer body. Damn it, you got to have a fall, winter, and spring. But you can't just get your body for the you know, dudes and girls be like, oh, I'm gonna get my summer body. I'm like, get your life body,
Right.
right? Get your life body, get your life whatever. And so my thing is, you know, I know that your example, you've coached me and you didn't even realize it. Most
Wow.
people don't realize it. I'm like, you know, I tell people, I said the folks that I've mentored and or just listened to or advised or coached or whatever, or just built capacity and relationship with and covenant with and brotherhood. That's like, man, please, y'all might think I'm giving the advice, but I'm learning. I'm learning
Hmm.
from y'all. I'm learning from your stories. I'm learning from your examples. I'm learning just watching your work ethic just grow and expand and go deep and wide. And Ed, we are so much alike that you don't even realize. Just if we compare our stories growing up, I tell people, I said I lost as many homies while I was in college as probably almost more than when I was in high school. I mean, from freshman year, you know, my man Leon, I literally had I been with him, I left him for 30 minutes. He was shot and killed. My man Reggie had I been home the night he came by my house because he was going over on the south side to go shoot pool. I don't know. I might have caught the bullet. You know what I'm saying? It's just a gang of stuff that had happened. I was like, okay, nah, it wasn't meant for me to go right now. And like you said,
Hmm.
you know, when you started, you know, dreams by any means, I'm like, yo, that says so much on so many levels. Some people just look at it as a tagline. I'm like, nah, man, let's go deeper than what you see. You know, one of my favorite pictures, you know, I love the picture that you used for the podcast, but one of my favorite throwback pictures of you is the one where you and Ryan was in the car.
Oh yeah, yeah, I love that one too, bro. I gotta get that blown up for real.
Yeah. And you know, and like I said, I think you understand and you value brotherhood and you
Yeah.
value people and you value family and you value just everybody going to get it, no matter what it is. You just like, yo, man, how can I help you get it? Like I ain't gonna get it for you, but let me throw you a bounce pass. You know,
Hmm.
I tell people, I say, yo, tell me this. I just tell people, I said, look, run the lane. I'm gonna throw you a bounce pass. All you gotta do is lay it up.
Yeah, nah, for real,
You
man.
know, and I tell
It's
people that's my vision. I was like, even though I'm a coach, I said I want to be the all-time assist leader.
yeah,
Period.
that's yeah, that's I mean, I'm not saying that, you know, that's the really most important. The person that's sometimes throwing the assist.
So it's one of them things, man. It's one of them things. But like you said, man, you know, you started a podcast, and if any young people are listening, um, sometimes you can't draw out the plan. Sometimes you just got to try stuff, and you got to fail, and then you got to try the same thing again, and try the same thing again, and try the same thing again, and fail again, and try again, and fail again, and try again.
Yeah.
But sooner, and people think that the win is when you get to the goal. Nah, the win is who you become. The win is who you become. That's who
Hmm.
you become. It's not. I tell people, I don't. I if I could take back all the championships, you know, I won AU. My teams have won AU tournaments. I won city championships in my hometown. I was like, you know what? What sticks with me longer than those trophies is the relationships I still have with my players, and I'm watching them
Yeah.
be husbands and fathers. I'm like, man, that's the trophy right there. Like, you know, there were. I felt like I became a better coach when my players saw me at my most vulnerable moments. You
Hmm.
know, they saw me cry. They saw me, you know, they heard me apologize. Um, you know, they saw me face immeasurable odds just with just everything, and I laid it all out there for them. And that was just that moment of growth, man. I mean, we failed together, we won together, but we always remember things that are most memorable are the times in between there. And that's what I always tell people. I say, look, it's either at the peak or you're at a valley. But
Yeah.
it's all about perception, man. And you know who you become in the process is and like I said, I think about who you become in the process. Just compare yourself to who you were at 25.
Yeah.
You were still driven, but think about what was important at 25.
Right. And that's honestly for me, that was kind of like when life, like when I turned 25, that's when I started looking at just life a little bit different. How I said, before 30, that's when I was looking like, all right, you got 5 more years. And kind of what you said, your father-in-law told you life started at 30. My big homie, shout out to KJ, he told me the same thing. But I remember one day I was in Baltimore and me and my boy Barry, we was talking about this, and he was just like, he was like, man, you doing this, you doing that, we all doing it. He was like, bro, he said, man, our generation said we be wilding, bro. It's like we be thinking life ends at 30.
It really
And
don't.
that's come from social media where, man, you in your office doing your 9 to 5, you hop on social media, you see a story about a 21-year-old millionaire or an 18-year-old millionaire. So you think like, oh, I want to be the youngest runner. And I used to have that mindset, like Anita Foster, my girl down in the A. She's from DC too. One of my closest friends, and she told me, said, don't focus on being the youngest. She said, focus on being the thoroughest to do it.
Man.
She was talking about how, like, what's the guy from Moonlight? The
Yeah,
actor, the one
I
the
know who
one
you're
the
talking about. I
yeah, I don't
can't.
want to chop his name up, but she
Yeah.
was saying how, he won his first Oscar. I think it was like late 30s or early 40s or something like that.
Listen,
So she's
man.
like, don't put a time on thinking like I want to do this about 30. All us want to be young Kobe. We want to be Bron. Straight out of high school. But
Right.
man, I think what I'm learning now was that I might get a blessing or opportunity. That same blessing I might have gotten at 23. Me getting it now at 29 or getting it at 33, now I'm gonna be able to handle it way different because I got the lessons and I got way more wisdom than if I
Yeah.
would have got it as a young.
I tell people all the time, this is the coach racism, I think, for next week. Undisputed is better than undefeated. Undisputed is better than undefeated. There's not a person in any field of endeavor that is undefeated. You had to
Yeah, man.
lose. You had to lose at some point in order to become undisputed. Now, a lot of
Yeah.
people, and we could talk Floyd or whatever. Okay, he's undefeated. But one thing's for sure, he's not undisputed because he's undefeated. He's undisputed because he didn't stop. And we could talk boxing on a whole nother level. But
Yeah.
even if you think Floyd shouldn't have won some of the fights he won, guess what? He didn't stop.
Yeah. For real.
He just didn't
For real, bro.
stop, man. They just don't stop. They just do not stop, man. And so, it's better to be undisputed, because when people say, who was that dude from DC Dreams by, it was Edward Doxson the third. He's undisputedly, just a real dude, a good dude. He give you the shirt and the beater off his back, you know. And to me, man, I think what is so rewarding is watching who you've become in the absence of people's eyes,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we marvel at people and who the product they are now. I marvel at what you're doing out of the sight of the general public. Because when I see you and I hear you, I say, man, he on the move. And that's why I say, nah, man, you coaching me.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's definitely like that's why I just been sitting back like, man, I'm just grateful, like, because I know for me too, man, I'm hard on myself a lot, and I think that's a good and bad thing. But it's like, you thinking you want to do this, you want to do that, and I'm just like, lately I've just been sitting back like, man, I ain't even touched, like, I ain't even touched it yet. Like, people think like, done this, but the master's done. Like, I just think about, like, I was in Dale State, I want to get the master's by 27. The master's is done. And I got it done before, by 27. And it's just like, now I'm just thinking about what's next, what is next. And it's like the circle I have around me, from entrepreneurs, from, people buying commercial property, people doing their thing with the stocks, Bitcoin, and kind of what you're saying about the mentor thing. And, you met Greg. Shout out to Greg, man. People that I mentored too, like, they are now my mentors, like, in the sense where it's like, man, I talk to Greg all the time, and Greg motivate me. Greg done reach heights that, a guy from Southeast Washington, D.C., Greg done been working at Deloitte. He's now at Booz Allen. He doing the stocks, he doing this thing, man. And it's like those type of things really motivate me. Like, and it's just like, man, I'm grateful. And that's what this whole podcast is about, is me really showing the world, like, look, you can have the grit, you can have the drive, but it's like, I want y'all to see the people that I've met along my journey and the people that I'm, continue to connect with. Because I also got some guests that I've interviewed that I just may have met a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago, but showing them that this is the importance. Like, when they say, it's lonely at the top, man. I think that thing is a little bit true, but it really ain't that true. Like, it ain't lonely at the, I mean, it's probably lonely if you just up there and you selfish, but it's a lot of other people that's up there at the top, and you're gonna need those people to keep going and keep going. And kind of what I said on the gram, a couple months ago was that, like, hey, I'm gonna see y'all at the top, but it's like, even if I don't, I'm gonna reach my hand back, or I'm gonna use one of my plugs to go help you get up here. And it's up to you if you gonna climb this ladder or not.
Hmm.
That's just how it simply go. And I say, man, everybody around me, they motivate me, and they've been climbing this ladder, and I understand now the saying of everybody can't go, everybody can't make it, because it's like people got to meet you halfway. And that's one thing I learned about social work. When I first was studying social work, I was realizing, like, how do we do this work without being emotionally attached to it? But it was like, no, social workers help people get their life in order, but the people got to be willing to take advantage of the resources that we're providing, the therapy that we're providing, the policies that we're advocating for, and all those things. So yeah, man, it's I'm excited, bro, for this 29th year. And even for me going to Vegas on Sunday, right? I
Hmm.
think I was, people think, like, people think Vegas, they think turn up, you going to do that, but it's like, bro, nah, like, I lived in Vegas, right after Dell State.
Right.
And the thing to go back to connections is that I'm in my phone right now, and it's a good 5 people out there that I connected with in a short time there that are like family, that have taken me under their wing, from my barber to my former coworker Brittany, to my big homie Steve, my mentor when I was at MGM through the company. He's now in the C's, is Adam. So it's like, I'm looking forward to go catch up with these people, but I'm also at a moment of like, okay, let's go back to the place where you started at, where you graduated school, you went out west, you took a shot at it, you ain't really like it, but I left away with, more than the money and more than the experience and the resume. No, I left there with some great relationships that I'm still able to have here in 2021 that I established in 2015. So it's like, man, I'm going out there to really just, bro, celebrate life, sit back, reflect, and man, just work on myself and have a good time. But it's like, for me, when I realized, booking the trip, because I really just want to go out the country, but I booked the trip and I said, you know what, nah, this trip make more sense, because it ain't just like me going to Vegas to be on the West Coast and enjoy the weather and the good things about it, but it's like, man, let's go back to where your career started after school. Let's go back and be in this environment for a week. And while I'm out there, of course, I'm not saying I'm about to go out there and work on Reasonable Doubt or the Blueprint One, like be locked in, but I'm gonna go explore. I'm gonna go to the Red Rock Canyon. I'm trying to go to the Grand Canyon. Get outside, work on the business, and also try to do some interviews while I'm there. But just be in an environment where I was at 23 when I started and thought I knew it all, and now I realize, man, you don't know nothing at all. Like, what I mean? You thought you knew it all. Like, oh, I got my job. I'm out here. This, and it's like, now I'm like, all right, now let me go back into this space and just, man, just get ready for this next year. Cause this is, like I said, this is a foundational year for me, Chief. And I'm telling you, like, bro, like, I've been telling my chats this, like, I'm gonna be a problem at 30. Like, 30 and over, all you 30 and over Bammers that's in that 30 and over club, I'm telling y'all, get your stuff together. Cause it's like, now that I know what I know and I got the different tools and I'm wise, it's like, all right, I'm still open to making mistakes, so that's how we're gonna learn. But now I know, like, nah, I know how to drive this car way different. I know the different routes. I know all the speed traps. It's like, it's just up with me, bro. It's all, it's there, and like, I'm really excited for this.
Feed the beast. Feed the
Yeah,
beast.
man.
Feed the beast. I
For
love
sure.
talk that talk, man. Like I said, I'm proud of you, bro, and I'm just super honored to hop on and build with you. It's always a pleasure, and happy early birthday.
Appreciate that, man.
You know what I'm saying? I don't think the world is ready for what you are about to bring to the
Yeah.
world and give them, not necessarily take. And I think sometimes when people hear other people profess and self actualize, they feel like it's all about what people are going to take. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like what you are getting ready to do, the seasons that you are getting ready to flourish and evolve in, is what you're going to give to the world, not what you're going to take. So,
Yeah. Nah, for
hey,
sure, bro.
I
It
hey, I got my popcorn ready.
For sure, man. And I was just thinking too, man, about just us, man. We can't in this episode without shouting out the great Kobe Bryant. You know what I
Oh
mean?
man, one
Shout out
time.
to the Great Kobe, man. Like, cause I just think about everything we talking about discipline, preparation, being great, building teams. Like, man, Kobe was all that. Like, and that's why people, when he died, people thought it was like, I was like, yo, that wasn't just an athlete. Like, I modeled how I move and my success and what I wanted to do just as a man after him, because you just seen it. Like, he just, man, that boy was a beast. Like, I never forget. Recently, bro, I was reading and Bradley Beal said, man, he said when we would play, he said against them, he said Kobe would make a hiss like a snake when he wanted the ball. He said,
Listen,
man, it threw me all the way off. He said, man, this dude was different.
right. And let's keep it a buck, Ed. There are a lot of I tell a lot of people I feel like Kobe got a lot of fake love after he passed. And that's okay. Because it is what it is. But again, he was undisputed. His worth
Mm-hmm.
was undisputed. And if anybody, you ain't got to be a Kobe fan. You ain't got to be a Tom Brady fan. Watch their stories. Look at their documentaries. What I love about Kobe is not even necessarily the 5 championships that he won. I love who he became as he failed. Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, real rap, it wasn't until after he died, bruh, I completely forgot about the court case.
Right.
I was like, yo, that did happen. But I love the fact that I forgot it, because once that happened, his focus was more laser than it had ever been. And what
Ever.
most people don't understand is he was such a ferocious competitor. And most people were like, well, yo, man, why didn't he do like Bron and them and bring all his friends in? I said, no. Hey, Kobe brought other guys with him, like Chris Paul and cats that he could actually play with. I said, people think, oh, he wouldn't have passed the ball. That wouldn't have been it. I'm gonna tell you what, had Kobe invited those guys, he would have played beyond 20 years, and that would have done more damage to his body. And he knew that. Now, if we could go back and ask him, like, nah, man, because if I invited those dudes, I would, if we didn't win, I would be fighting mad. And I don't want to be like that. I got 4 daughters to raise.
Yeah.
And
Nah,
I
for real.
and I tell people, I said, no. I said he could have played longer, gotten the right team around him.
Yeah.
But he was like, nah, because if I pick up a Boogie, or whoever, if he had his pick of the litter, if it's whomever, D-Way, it don't matter, LeBron, anybody, he'd be like, nah, because if I got this squad, we not losing, and the moment we lose, I'm fighting all y'all.
Yeah. Yeah, and I respect it too. He said something like, they was asking him what made you stop. He also was saying, like, he was like, when I just woke up one day and I didn't feel like the love that day, he was like, nah, like this ain't it no more. Well, like he was saying, he was that committed where like it was basketball every day, giving 1,000%. And I took that away from just like, man, the stuff we do in life is like, man, if you ain't passionate about it, you're not gonna really give it your all and get those results, that you want and that you want people around to see. So yeah, man, he was a beast. And it's funny you say that, because I never forget that video when he came back from the injury. They was in there practicing. He said, well, y'all boys in here. He said, y'all soft like Charmin, huh?
Man. And most people thought, and the thing was, yeah, people like, yo, man, Jordan was an asshole, Kobe was an asshole. I'm like, listen, Jordan said something in the documentary that really struck a chord with me. He says, do you want to win or do you want to have fun?
Yeah.
Just make the decision, because winning it ain't fun until you win. The journey
Right.
journey up until winning is not fun. Practice is not fun.
Practice.
Fundamentals, we talking about practice. It's not fun. And that was the thing. I was like, you know what? Kobe may have Kobe may have pissed a lot of people off. Some people thought he was arrogant. I said, but guess what? At the end of the day, you knew him for one thing. He was going to seek and destroy. And
Exactly.
if you're not a Kobe fan, just go and watch Kobe's Muse. Go watch it on
Yeah.
Netflix.
Yeah.
Just go
Kobe
watch
was
that on
different,
Netflix.
man. He was like,
Because I mean, I know people that have popped both Achilles. I know people that have popped one Achilles, and these are guys who
yeah.
are athletic guys. But these dudes don't even. Some people they can't walk straight after they pop their Achilles.
Yeah, they say that's no joke. Like that's even once he was done, he was in a locker room being interviewed, and they was asking him about it, and he like, really, you gonna ask me that? Because like pretty much like that's like a RIP to an athlete when that
Right,
happens.
right.
But he, man, Kobe, man, Kobe, even with his knees and everything, man, he probably supposed to have been sitting down, but he was not.
Yeah.
giving up. I think, man, and that's another story, bro. I think about all the stories he told, but he was telling me the story about when they had to play Vince Carter and them. He was like, it was a time when Vince was killing the league. And he said his back was in so much pain. And he was like, nah. He was like, I ain't going to give him the power to be like, oh, he ain't playing because I'm coming to town. He said, man, he played that game with the worst back pain ever. But he was just like, he wasn't going for it.
Yeah. It you know, one thing about Bean is that, you know, he was going to definitely get the most out of you. And I think people really started to love him when he was done. And what most people forget is that while he is in the top 5 in scoring of all time, people have to remember he didn't even start his whole career. You got to
Right.
remember them first 3 seasons, he was averaging, I think, under 15 because he wasn't getting a lot of playing time because of the squad we had, right? But people don't realize, number one, he didn't even start, the first, he didn't get a lot of playing time his first 3 years. And they got to remember, even after the Achilles, he had to sit out the one season because of the knee. He had to sit out the other season because of the torn labrum, well, his rotator cuff or whatever. So imagine had he played those 3 seasons. Imagine had he started all the time. Imagine had he not popped. Imagine had he not had any major injuries that kept him out for an entire season. I'm telling you
Yeah.
right now, he might have almost gotten Kareem. He would have
Yeah.
definitely. I'm gonna tell you what was happening. He was focused on passing Karl Malone for so many reasons.
Right.
He was like, he said, I ain't trying to catch Kareem, but I definitely want, he never said it out loud, but he was definitely trying to pass Karl Malone. And we know why, because Karl Malone tried to hit on his wife. So he's
Yeah.
like, nah, dog. But, he realized that the time was running out. But, rest in peace, man. I still watch interviews of him because I love getting into his mindset. And
Yeah, nah, for sure. That's my dog, man. Still to the day, I'll be watching highlights, and I tell people like, you don't know Kobe if you ain't watched them Friday night Houston and LA triple overtime games with him and T Mac, man. They used to go at it, bro. And I tell people to this day, if T Mac ain't get injured, and I'm saying this as a Kobe fan, man, T Mac was, bro. T Mac was different.
T Mac was a problem.
He was gonna be way, man. He'd have definitely got a ring.
Whoo. And that was the one player that uh well, actually T-Mac said, yo, if I had anybody in the league to play with, he said, no, give me Bean. He was like, what about LeBron? He said, give me Bean. What about, he said, give me Bean, Kobe Bean, please. Because I don't even want to imagine them dudes on the same team. Whew.
Yeah, that'd have been, oh my God. That'd have been different.
Yes, sir.
Man, that'd have been different. But yeah, man, this was great, bro. Like I tell a lot of the guests to come on, like this ain't gonna be the last episode. We definitely we got to get a visual one too, in person.
Oh, for
take
sure.
Take a trip down to Miami one weekend, man. I got a nice cameraman down there, as you can see.
Please and thank you. Please and thank you.
Yes.
Yes,
and
sir.
just continue to chop it up. But man, for real, I appreciate you, bro. Definitely, want to thank you, give you your flowers for everything you've done for me, continue to do for me. And I think more importantly, like how you touched on earlier, bro, from the Johnny, Kamani, Fran, Dama, TB, like you also are invested in the people that are around me that you've met through me. And like, man, that right there speaks volume, in your character. And, you are one of a kind leader, bro. It's quotes. Like I said, you told me 12, 13 years ago that I still keep in mind since today because like it really relates. And that was, that one, dim your current desires for a brighter future. Like, and I still apply that to today. It's being 28 and it's some things you want to do or you want to splurge and you want to take trips and you want to be in design all the time. But it's like, nah, like let's dim that down and focus on some more important stuff that can help you. And those materialistic things or whatever, it's going to always be there. And, so man, I appreciate you, bro, for helping me take what it means by any means, to the next level. And, we locked in forever, bro. So I love you and I appreciate it.
Love you too, bro. I'm proud of you. And like you said, man, I'm still honored and humble. You still use that quote and to your squad, your family, your brotherhood, man. They know they can call me for anything. And the thing is, the reason is, sucker free don't attract suckers. They don't.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, if he with you, I ain't got to vet him. If you stamp him, I stamp him.
Facts.
until you don't stamp him no more, he good with me. It's like
For real.
it's like a version of the mafia. Like, yo, and if you stamp him, he good with me. Like
Yeah.
all the people that you stamp, I still rock with. Silas, Kenny. Come on, man, everybody. Y'all,
Yeah, that was like I seen you and Silas and Mike P had some the other week. And I was
yeah,
just looking at that, like I sat back and I just smiled. I was like, man, that's what's up. Like, cause I know Mike too. You, Mike, sound like y'all all three of y'all my big homies. So seeing y'all connect together, I'm like, man, that's what's up.
yep. And I'm saying Tony, Johnny, Kimani, Fran. I don't want to miss nobody. Greg, all y'all, man. I mean, y'all know me. If y'all
Everybody.
need something, man, y'all know y'all can call me. Y'all already know. And if I can't get it for you, I'm a defer to somebody else that can help you. So, man, I
Yeah,
love you, man. I'm proud of you, man. Let's
yeah.
let's get it.
Already, bro, man. You already know, ball up top.
Yes, sir.
And drop your handle too, bro. Drop your handle so the people that's listening, man, they can know where to follow you on the socials. Get some motivation, get some good game, and get some good life coaching.
My guy at Coach Rice 11 at Coach Rice 1 on all social platforms, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and Twitter at
Yeah.
Coach Rice 11.
Yeah, and all y'all listening to, man, if y'all could do me a favor for my birthday, y'all could figure out how old my mentor, Coach Rice, is, because I still don't know how old he is to this day.
Hey
I
man,
don't know.
I'm the same age as you. I'm a day older than yesterday and a day younger than tomorrow.
I got it, man. I was like, I don't know.
I'll tell you when you turn 30.
All right. Peace out, bro.
All right, peace.